Hello, and thanks for joining us for the Cyber UK 2021 session. I'm Chris Ensor, Deputy Director for Cyber Growth at the National Cybersecurity Centre. In my role, I use NCSC's expertise and brand to build new cybersecurity capability in education, research, innovation, and industry. In this session, we're diving into the education element, and we'll be exploring industry's experience of the CyberFirst programme. On the panel today, I'm pleased to say we have a real cross-section of industry. We have Emily Beeney from Morgan Stanley, Emily Turner from Lloyds Banking Group, Keith Lippert from Allstate, Julian Meyrick from IBM, Laura Price from BT, and Luke Fairless from Tesco. So a really good cross-section. I should probably start by saying just a little bit about CyberFirst, because some of you may not have heard about it. And if you haven't, where have you been? So CyberFirst was really developed to identify and nurture talented people for a career in cybersecurity. It's been running for over 5 years, and over that time, we have engaged over 53,000 students. So it's an amazing number. It started off as a bursary programme, which was intended to identify talented people, year 13, just before they go to university, give them a bursary to help them through. But we had to expand it to include competitions and courses. And that was really to improve the diversity in the bursary applications, particularly when it came to gender, where we were seeing around 2-to-1 ratio of male to female applicants. That certainly improved. So it started as 3-to-1, and we're now down to 2-to-1. So that's really good, but we're having to do a lot more. So one of the things I constantly hear from industry say is that the students coming through university don't have the work experience. So for us, gaining some of that experience is a key part of the programme. So not only do they get a bursary, but get that opportunity to work in a business and get some experience. The programme's got over 900 students involved. And so we have to look to partners in government and industry to help us deliver it. I'm as interested as you will hopefully be to hear how that's worked out for some of the companies involved, because all of our panel today have been involved in CyberFirst in some shape or other. So I think I'll go first to Julian. Julian, how's IBM contributed to the bursary scheme?
Chris, well, thank you very much for inviting me to participate. My name is Julian Meyrick, and I lead our security strategy, risk and compliance practice. And I've been our exec sponsor for the CyberFirst programme now for 4 years. And it's a fantastic programme. We've now run, I think, 3 years of placements. The second year grew significantly as a result of the success in our first year. And then last year, obviously, we went to virtual like everybody else did. It's been hugely successful from our perspective, and we've actually ended up hiring about 6 students from the CyberFirst programme into IBM, which I'm really proud of. And the whole program for us has been very, very successful, and we're delighted with the quality of the students that participate in the placements. And my graduate hiring team tell me that they see that the CyberFirst students are an excellent source for us of hiring, and really something they want to continue to support.
Guys, it seems like an age since I came down to the labs, and we're having a barbecue in the sunshine and meeting all those students. It must be at least a year and a half ago now.
Absolutely.
So you've been a great contribution. How much beneficial do you think is the bursary students to hold a clearance? I mean, it's not the top clearance, but they hold a clearance to start with. How beneficial do you think that is?
So I think that's very helpful from our perspective. The reality is that if you take a graduate, who just comes in through our normal hiring program and ask them to go through a security vetting process, that's quite intimidating for some of them. So it really does bring value for us that the CyberFirst students go through that as part of the process. They're familiar with it, but also they learn through the CyberFirst program, what the rules of behavior that are expected of people, working in a classified area, and so that really brings a value for us as well. And then I think the other piece for us that's been really valuable as well is the way that the students over the years move between the government placements and the industry placements. So that really gives them a broad understanding across, the industry of both the government perspective and the industry perspective. And that makes them, more attractive for us when we're then deciding who to hire.
And it's been great having IBM on board, so thank you for that. So Emily, How's Lloyds Banking Group got involved in this?
Yeah, hi Chris, great to be here today. Hi everyone. So I'm Emily, Head of Education and Engagement at the Chief Resilience and Security Office in Lloyds Banking Group. So officially the owner of the biggest business card going at the moment with that job title. So we're a little bit earlier on our journey with CyberFirst, but we went straight in our first year with 10 summer placements. And that was really exciting for us to have them on board. Really pleased with the level of kind of interest that we got from the students, so enthusiastic, and they actually left a bit of a lasting legacy with us, where they helped us automate a few processes, which they weren't asked to do actually. They kind of came in and had a look at our processes and helped us automate some of it, which is always very, very welcome. So yeah, really pleased to be a part of it, and definitely committed to doing that again going forward.
How do you feel? I mean, I talked a little bit about it's important to give them experience. How do you feel that giving them that? How important is that experience? That when they go on those placements, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we toyed with the idea of how much kind of to expose them to on the placement, and we kind of felt that giving them the chance to roll their sleeves up and get involved was the best way forward. So that's certainly what we did, and they got exposure across all the different teams. So even if they came in to do a specific role, we made sure we circulated them round and did a few overview days so they could get involved in various different activities and meet as many people as possible. We felt that it was really important for them to kind of get to know each other as well, because they didn't necessarily know each other. So we tried to facilitate that as much as possible, so they came away with it with a bit of a network of people that their own age as well, going through the same sort of experience.
That's great, and it's really good to have Lloyds Banking Group involved, because it just shows the number, the different organisations that have an interest in cybersecurity. So thank you for all the support you've given, Keith. When Allstate have recruited a CyberFirst bursary student, what's been your impression and experiences when you compare them perhaps to a graduate that comes straight from university?
Thanks for the invitation. Also, I'm Keith Lippert. I'm the Deputy CISO for Allstate Insurance Company. We're a Fortune 100 insurance company in America. Despite the accent, I'm based in Northern Ireland, and spent most of my career in financial crime prevention. I was the legal chief operating officer for Barclays Bank in London, with responsibility for anti-terrorism work. So that's really what brought me back to cybersecurity in Northern Ireland. And the relationship began actually through a contact at Women in Business Northern Ireland, where I'm on the board of Women in Business, and we hosted one of the girls' competition, and through that got our first 2 bursary students. I think what was really interesting is that even this week, people are still talking about these 2 students and the impact they had on our organization. Incredibly bright. Some of the work that they did I thought was near patent worthy. So the caliber of people we were getting in those students was really phenomenal. And I could see that just the energy in my team and how it affected them to see these kids coming through. We weren't exactly sure what to expect from them. And they were incredibly bright, one coming from a mathematics background, one coming from an engineering background. So they approached problems in different ways, and were really sort of stronger together in the experience. And it has left a lasting legacy. That was 2019, and even this week we were talking about them and wondering where they are today.
That's really great to hear. And what do you think the benefit are? I mean, you're a partner. All the companies here are a partner, and having access, because basically we've got hundreds of students within the scheme. Is there a benefit of having access to that sort of number?
Absolutely. This is sort of a more is better thing for me. I'm sitting today as we speak with about 13 open roles, and another 13 I'd love to bring to Northern Ireland. So I think these conversations with teachers and students need to begin very early. We can see in some countries that begin cybersecurity teaching very early how that brings top talent to the market. Absolutely, I think that this relationship is key to our success in bringing talent to the market.
Thanks for that, Keith. And again, good to have you, and an international company with locations all over the place. Really great to have you on board. I'll come to Laura now. How is BT exploring the idea of sort of fast tracking CyberFirst bursary students into a graduate program? Because that's the thing. I mean, CyberFirst is a bit of a pipeline, but then you've got to bring them into the company and then you've got to develop them. How's BT doing that?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me here today. My name's Laura Price. I'm Employer Brand Specialist for BT Security, and one of the many hats that I have is looking at our outreach and engagement, particularly around the sort of cyber skills pipeline. So for us, in all honesty, the CyberFirst program was a bit of a no-brainer in many respects. Well, it weren't exactly late to the party, but it was only probably a couple of years ago that we started to engage properly, I would say, with CyberFirst and looking at the opportunities that the bursary students actually gave us. And it seemed to me to be an opportunity to have a bit more of a seamless approach, connecting that bursary program to our graduate recruitment program. Because when we had our first CyberFirst bursary students last year, and it wasn't really the numbers that we'd originally anticipated, but obviously there was a bit of a pandemic going on. But we saw the calibre of these students and how good they were and the contribution that they made to the business. So we felt, actually, this is too good an opportunity to just sort of slip by. So we spoke with the CyberFirst team to better understand the kind of recruitment and selection processes that a student had to go through to join the CyberFirst bursary scheme. And we were really impressed with the quality that the students had to go through, and as I say, the calibre of the students that came out as a result. And the experiences that they had sort of attending the academy, doing all the extracurricular activities and workshops and talks that they have exposures to, meant that they were really well-rounded as individuals, not just in terms of technical skills, but in terms of their personal development as well. So we spoke at great length with our HR and recruitment teams to bring them on board, to look at, we kept telling them how good these students were, and they talked to your CyberFirst contacts as well, so they became convinced, having heard about the assessment processes, etc. And they worked with us to develop a process whereby, if you come off the CyberFirst summer placement with us and you're going into your final year, that we sort of, I don't want to say the word fast track because I'll be in trouble. It's not so much a fast track. What we ensure is that students don't have to do, they don't have to complete the online tests or the video interviews, so they can go straight into our assessment process. So that kind of cuts out quite a big chunk of our graduate recruitment process, and they do an assessment centre specifically for the CyberFirst students, which means they can go then back into their final year knowing that if they've got a place at BT, if they want that place, obviously it's a bit of a try as you buy, so it's as much about the student finding out whether BT is right for them kind of culturally, whether we're going to give them the right kind of opportunity and development in their role. And provided they're convinced of all of this, then yes, they can come back and join our graduate programme when they finish their final year of university.
I think it's quite exciting that you're linking the two up, because we don't. At the end of the day, CyberFirst isn't delivering the finished article. There's some great. They're all great students. They've got real passion for technology and things. But ultimately, when they land in an organisation, they still need that development. How important do you think it is that it's good that you've linked the two up? How important do you think it is that you link up to that graduate programme, so you've got something to look after them once they've joined your organisation?
Yes, because obviously they've had experience of us. They know better than any sort of new graduate to the business what it's like to work within our organisation, because they've had exposure to that. They've had exposure to our leaders and to our development programme, and hopefully they can see the other learning and development opportunities that people get within BT and on our graduate programme specifically. And we're also able to nurture them then in their final year as well, and give them, keep in contact with them, send them things that will be useful for them when they come back to us again, so that hopefully then they can hit the ground running as well, so they don't feel quite such a newbie, because they've had that experience and they've had that exposure to the wider business.
I think there's something about cyber. I mean, it's very much like medicine or law. I think sometimes that just because you graduated doesn't mean you're ready to work. There's that next element of development. I think it's fantastic that you've joined those things together. So moving on to Emily. And Morgan Stanley, it's great to have Morgan Stanley on board. How has Morgan Stanley sort of contributed to improving sort of female participation in cybersecurity? Because the stats are not great, are they?
Hi, so yeah, firstly, thank you so much for inviting me to join the panel today. So my name's Emily Beeney. I'm a Vice President at Morgan Stanley, and I lead the Insider Threat Analytics mission there to detect malicious insiders within the network. So I actually wear two extracurricular hats at the firm. So I'm the co-chair of the Morgan Stanley Women in Technology Network in Glasgow. So I'm responsible for delivering the firm's diversity strategy at a local level. But then I'm also a STEM ambassador, which fits in nicely, I guess, to the question. So working in partnership with that national organisation, Morgan Stanley is very, very keen to get their employees involved with promoting careers in STEM, and obviously coming from the cyber background, specifically in cybersecurity. So we've done a few engagements, actually. The biggest one would be hosting the CyberFirst competition in 2020. So we put a lot of effort into making sure that the young girls that came along to that had a really good day. It was a positive experience for them to hopefully continue their journey into a cyber career. But then on the day, we also put some content together to share with the teachers and the chaperones that came along. And that enabled us to not only have that impact to the young people that turned up on the day to participate in the competition, but also gave the teachers some content that they could take back to their schools with a view that we could broaden the impact and not only affect, I think it was the 40 or so girls that turned up on the day, but if the teachers can take that message back and share it with the rest of the school, then that's really what we were trying to do there.
Yeah, and it was great that you were able to host one of the semi-finals, because being able to do that, we ran 18 semi-finals right across the country. So we were able to give 180 girls that next level of experience. So that was fantastic, and it was really good. Why do you think it's important to increase the number of females in cybersecurity? So
for me, I guess I've had first-hand experience of being the only female in the room, whether that's in the office at work, whether you turn up to a meeting, you sit down and you look around and sort of you're very acutely aware that you're the only one, or if it's at university and you're sitting in a lecture hall and you look around and you think, oh, I'm sort of the odd one out here. So for me, diversity in any career is important, right? The diversity of thought, whether that's gender, whether it's a social economic background. I think that companies perform better when they have diverse voices, when they have diverse employees, and the gender is obviously going to be close to my heart, being a woman in technology.
Yeah, and it's something I think it's something everybody has to get involved in to make those changes. So it's really great to have Morgan Stanley and your participation in this, and the enthusiasm we get from the companies involved is amazing, and everybody wants to help, and that's great. So finally, Luke, how do you see CyberFirst supporting sort of diversity in your company?
Yeah, hello, Chris. Hello, everybody. Really good to be here. My name is Luke Fairless. I'm Technology Director for Cybersecurity at Tesco. We've been on quite a journey with diversity, as I think a lot of people have been in the last 12 months. So 12 months ago, it was really about gender diversity, and that was where all of our focus was. I think in the last 12 months, you would understand that actually we've been talking a lot more about a lot of other facets of diversity. And we've been doing a lot of training at a leadership team level through the autumn and kind of into January on that. And actually thinking about how CyberFirst can help us in that journey is really important. Coming back to gender diversity in particular, clearly, like Morgan Stanley, we hosted CyberFirst Girls competition at the beginning of 2020. Which does seem, now that I think about everybody packed in that room and so excited, it seems like it was a very long time ago that pre-COVID that happened. And being able to actually genuinely demonstrate what we are doing to try and help gender diversity and answer that question of, well, come on, so you've done loads of training on it at the leadership team level, you're talking about it a lot, where we see maybe some green shoots through recruitment, but it's a bit of a slow burn. What are you really doing to demonstrate that you believe in this and that you want to make a difference? And doing something like the CyberFirst Girls competition is a real declaration of intent. It genuinely helps, as well as really shows your intention to everybody within the organization that it's a serious thing. Thinking also about as a tech organization, we are not very diverse. And as you said, Chris, that's a problem that I think a lot of us are battling. In cybersecurity, actually, our gender diversity statistics are worse than our overall tech statistics, which themselves aren't where we would want them to be. But I'm in a slightly odd position in that our business is actually very diverse. So outside of technology, Tesco is a very diverse business, and having a cybersecurity team who can reflect that diversity so that we are getting things right on behalf of our 500,000 colleagues and not making wild assumptions, not putting communications out there that only strike with less than half of the population and all that stuff. That is really important. Ultimately, we need to get more women into more roles in cybersecurity. And if that means we have to start right back at school age, then that's what we have to do. I think the bursary program also is a way to be able to support that. And on the kind of the wider diversity angle, I think in future years, I'll be really interested in combing through bursary applications and working out how we can use the bursary to support social mobility and to get even more out of some of that money that we spend through the bursary program.
And it's been fantastic having Tesco's on board, because you're not a traditional cybersecurity company. You're not doing cybersecurity. You sell food and things like that. So I think it also shows that every organisation needs cybersecurity expertise. Do you think that does that help sort of change the image around Tesco's in a little bit as well?
I'm smiling because if you ever stood on one of our recruitment stands at a cyber or a tech event, you will get people walking up to us and saying, "But I thought you sold beans and lettuces. Why are you here?" Which is an awesome way to start a conversation about why we are there and what we do and the scale that we operate at. So it does really change things. And actually the CyberFirst Girls competition, so all of the teachers, parents and guardians that come along, we took it quite seriously that we needed to educate and entertain them for the day. And the overriding message we got from them was just, it's awesome that you guys are involved, because my daughter sees Tesco every week when we go shopping. And if she's now going to be thinking about doing cybersecurity later on, university, etc., she can now see, okay, so I don't have to just go and work for the government if I want to do this. There are jobs in this in normal companies like yours. Normal company like ours, I'm not sure is a quote that I would use, but the parents and teachers and guardians were super excited about that.
Yeah, and I think it's important, and I really think there's a challenge here, and it's not just about cybersecurity, but it's about technology career paths in general, that people don't really understand them and see them. That every company today is a technology company to a certain extent, because they have to live in cyberspace and they have to live on the internet and they have to get to their customers, and people don't see that. And hopefully, that's part of the whole CyberFirst partnership is trying to provide that view of that broad range of really exciting opportunities there are within all sorts of companies, not just cybersecurity companies. So it's great to have Tesco's on board. So thanks for that, Luke.
I think I'd add to that as well. Sorry, Chris. I'd just add to that for anybody any companies that are thinking about coming on board. So Tesco haven't been on board with CyberFirst as long as some of these other guys have been. It isn't that, we haven't yet been able to hire any students. We've gone as far as bursary, but that's been really new. Dipped our toe in the water with doing we kind of roundtable sessions and career advice sessions and stuff with students. So I think there are some real practical smaller ways that you can start to get involved and dip your toe in the water that aren't as scary as going all the way up to brilliant being able to recruit 6 students. Not everybody's going to be able to do that. So I think I would just encourage people to not think it's this massive program that you can only do at scale. You can get involved and I think make a difference way before that.
And I think that's a really good point. There's a menu of opportunities, from just turning up on a course and talking and providing some role models, all the way through to employing students and even running courses. So there is a lot of things people can do, and every little helps is the way I think about it. So that's kind of been we've kind of looked at some of the experiences. Let's look a little bit forward now. So when we look at the sort of statistics from the girls' competition, we see around 25% of schools that could enter a team doing so, and we see that around 60% of schools offer GCSE in computing, and that falls to about 30% when you get to A level. And if you put all that on a map, you start to see a few blank areas across the country. And that's why our next phase of activity is looking to encourage more regional education ecosystems to form. So how do you bring together schools, colleges, universities and local industry to work together? And that's kind of where we see the next phase. And the CyberFirst Schools programme, we've been piloting in a couple of areas. It is a kind of key part of that ecosystem, identifying schools that are already sort of demonstrating an enthusiasm for teaching technology and teaching cybersecurity. And it's a way of recognising that they do that and then putting, there's a bit of a flag there that companies can go and get involved with them. And I'd welcome views from the panel as to how they may be able to support that sort of activity on a regional level, because a lot of companies have offices all around the UK. So how do we use the fact that they've got that kind of footprint? So Emily at Morgan Stanley, what's your thoughts on how you would support that regional sort of ecosystem?
Yeah, I think it's a fab idea. Obviously, in Scotland, where I'm based, we have a slightly different education system. So having a one-size-fit-all is never really going to work for the UK as a whole. So we need to make sure that in addition to sort of the different A-level curriculum that we have, that we're also catering to those in Scotland, and doing it regionally is an absolutely fab way of doing that. So there's lots and lots of different initiatives that happen in Scotland at the moment. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm part of the STEM Ambassador Scheme. And the schools programme would be a nice way to complement that. And you could definitely pull in some of the volunteers through the STEM Ambassador Scheme to help get that up and off the ground. I've got lots and lots of friends who are teachers, and they would definitely appreciate a lot of the support that industry is able to offer. By doing it regionally, you're able to get companies who have a presence in that area in front of school children, which will help with that sort of talent pipeline. If not only can they see that this is a potential career, but this is a potential career that is accessible to you because it is in your location, then I think that will have a huge impact on whether or not students will take their education further and move into a cybersecurity career.
And I think seeing those role models and seeing the opportunities, because we all know that, we all know doctors, we all know lawyers, we all know accountants, and so everybody can talk about those. But what is this technology? What does this cybersecurity career look like? And getting companies out there is really important. Emily, from a Lloyds banking group perspective, what can you see able to support in that kind of regional area?
Yeah, so it fits so well with our purpose, really, because we're kind of intrinsically linked to the success of the UK economy. That's how we see ourselves. We're a purpose-led organisation that wants to really represent the customers that we serve. And a big part of that is our regional ambassador network. So we have a strong regional ambassador network, which is kind of led by business leaders in those areas, and really strong connections with schools across the UK. So absolutely would be quite easy for us to kind of link you up with those that ambassador network to roll that out. For me, I think it's really important, as Emily said, to get in front of people and to bring those role models to life, particularly for women and for girls. To get in front of a classroom full of girls and inspire them face to face and talk to them about what the day-to-day role looks like. That's how we're going to really make a difference and encourage girls to get involved. So absolutely something that we'd be up for doing from all angles, really. We did host one of the girls' competitions as well. We hosted it in London. It was absolutely fantastic, really inspirational day. And the only reason why we didn't do it kind of more broadly is we didn't have kind of as glamorous a venue anywhere else that we could have offered on that day. They were already pre-booked out, but we absolutely want to do that. We don't see ourselves as a London-centric organisation. We think that COVID has proved actually the power of the local community in bringing people together, even if it's virtually. Actually, I think people are a lot more invested in their local communities, and now's the time to really kind of capitalise on that from this perspective too.
Yeah, and again, great. Thanks, and thank you for hosting one of the semi-finals. And I think we're up for ideas. This is the thing. We don't have the solutions, and often it's organisations that have places in different parts of the UK that understand how those regions work and what could be done. So we're really up for ideas, and all our industry partners. We try and get them together as regularly as possible to help feed in those ideas. So we build a programme that everybody can kind of can see themselves in and can contribute to. So Keith, I know Allstate have already run some courses. What do you see in terms of what you can do regionally?
It was interesting to hear some of these shared experiences. When we hosted the girls event, we did a little graduation at the end and had the parents and guardians there. And I asked the parents to raise their hand if they worked in technology, and about 40% of the hands went up. So you touched on it earlier. I think one of the things we can do here is really help teachers understand that a role in cybersecurity is not a role in cybersecurity. That it could be doing marketing for cybersecurity, education for cybersecurity, that it is a suite of very different roles. And certainly at the scale that we operate, I think we've got 80,000 people who touch our network every day. I need people who do marketing for cybersecurity. It is lots of different types of roles. And I think if teachers had that context, either through role modeling, as you described, some ability to see what various roles in cybersecurity would look like, it would be different than a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, things that are regularly understood. We need to get it to that level of education with the teachers so they can see how there are many different skill sets that we might need.
I think the whole teaching of digital and it's more than running a spreadsheet. But I think you raise a good point around it. I sometimes go on a lot about technology because it is the area where we struggle the most. But there are so many other roles, and I think it's really good that you emphasise that and pick that up. That's really important because it isn't all about deep technologists. It's about a whole load of different skill sets in this space. Julian, from an IBM perspective, you've got offices in quite a few places. What's the regional take for you?
Well, so one of the things that we've done, we have a corporate program to promote STEM in schools. We've had that running for a number of years, and we actually have a cohort running up in Leeds across 3 different schools. And so one of the things that we've done is connected that group with CyberFirst to promote CyberFirst. It's a long-term vision, but to take a 12-year-old, 13-year-old and persuade them that there's an opportunity potentially for a bursary and then a career beyond that. But we've got to start now to get people on that journey so that in 10 years' time, we will actually all benefit from that. So we really see that as an opportunity using our footprint in Leeds. One of the other things we've done as well is we've established a relationship with an organisation called Votes for Schools. They run or provide education to teachers. And so we ran a joint programme with CyberFirst in February as part of the Safer Internet Day, actually providing content and doing a vote where 30,000 school students were able to vote on a question that we put together with the CyberFirst team. So that was a great way to really promote CyberFirst and cybersecurity as a career to a huge number of school children.
I mean, I get very excited about this, as you can probably tell, because there's so much, there's so much enthusiasm out there. But there's organisations like yourselves and others on this panel who've got places all around the UK, and GCHQ has. We've got Bude, we've got Manchester, we've got London, and how do we use those locations to support the community in the region around? I think it's so important. Laura, regional, what's your take?
Regional is hugely important to BT. I mean, we've been announcing our strategic key locations over the last couple of years. And, from a cybersecurity perspective, we're looking for people in Bristol, in Cheltenham, Manchester, Birmingham, Ipswich, London. So kind of all around. And I guess we've always had a bit of a tradition in terms of our schools engagement with the well-established Barefoot programme that goes into primary schools. And interestingly, in the last week, they've just released some new resources in conjunction with the NCA and CAS, obviously, which is a whole set of teacher resources around cybersecurity. To keep kind of obviously primary school pupils safe online, and that includes things like permission and online ownership, the legal and illegal use of computers. So some quite interesting stuff for both parents and teachers to actually get their hands on. So that's just recently been launched. But the challenge is always when you get into secondary education, because things become more fragmented, which is why I think the regional networks can kind of really play their part, because there is huge opportunity there. And a bit like our earlier conversation, often it's about joining things up. So the opportunity to understand where perhaps some of the disadvantaged schools are, so that you can offer work experience opportunities, be it virtually or hopefully face to face as we go through this year. That we see that as a real kind of strength of our network of regional locations. We also work with people such as I'm based in Bristol, so I work with an organisation called Unlock Cyber, which is a consortium of employer organisations in and around the Bristol area who partner with the University of West of England to look at raising visibility of cyber in secondary schools, because all those conversations we've had about there's not enough cyber being taught as part of the national curriculum, the fact that teachers don't necessarily have the skills because they don't come from a cyber background to be able to teach cyber effectively. They need our help and support to go in and actually give them a taste of what cyber is about. And the fact is, most of us here didn't ever envisage a career in cyber. We've all just ended up in this particular sector. So there's a lot about teaching, young people about what a career in cyber looks like. And it is that broadening of skills. It's not just about technology. It's about policy. It's about strategy. It's about comms. It's about marketing. So we try and engage with, we get involved with the Atlantic College 912 challenge, which, looks at those kind of policy and strategy, issues, which is a very important strand. And then there's obviously all the work that we do with the CyberFirst schools. So being in Bristol, I've been quite privileged that you've got a very strong network in and around this particular area, and a fantastic team there who are always hooking us up with opportunities for work experience, to do talks, to do seminars, to go into local schools and colleges. And we're looking to develop that further, potentially with a work experience pilot programme with CyberFirst schools later on this year. And actually, we've also one of my team is going to become a Northwest ambassador for CyberFirst schools programme. So there's lots of ways in which we're engaging. We've also done the semi-final at Adastral Park in Ipswich. I don't know how many of you know Ipswich, but that eastern side of the country is quite. It's quite a closed talent pool in many respects. So actually being able to kind of reach out and get to people there has been really important. And the semi-final there was a great way of actually us engaging with a whole host of schools that we hadn't done traditionally, and get people to come in and look around the facilities and understand the research and technology and innovation that goes on in there. So lots of opportunities, and I think the regional network is our real strength.
And you mentioned there the University of West of England, and what's interesting is we've just recognised them as an academic centre of excellence in cybersecurity education, partly because of all the outreach they do. And I think what you've talked about there, with working with them and working with schools, exactly what we see as how ecosystems will work with universities, with schools, with industry, with the LEPs, with local government. That's all great opportunities. Thanks for that, Laura. And coming to Luke, so you must have the best regional distribution of all the organisations here. There's a Tesco in every corner.
That's probably true. I was feeling quite inadequate in terms of how many offices we have across the country that handle cybersecurity. It's not quite as impressive as everybody else. I think that what was just discussed there really resonated with me, because so we're not as progressed in thinking about all of this stuff as I think some of you guys are, having just joined recently. But in the that from the teachers that we talked to as part of that CyberFirst Girls competition, if they had one message they were trying to hammer home to us that whole time, that whole day, was, this is great, gesturing towards the competition, but we really need you guys to help us keep them interested when they get to 14 or 15 years old, because that's when we lose them. And so we'd been quite shy about approaching schools. So we'd done school talks where somebody had a child at that school, and it felt like it was easier to approach them, but we almost felt like we were imposing on them somehow. Actually, the really strong message February last year was, like, you get yourselves into our schools and you talk to our kids about these careers, and you tell them that, you know, you can have a successful career in it, and that there are jobs that need these skills and different jobs that need these other skills, and just give them, carry on the message, I guess, when they're at 14 or 15. So we had a whole kind of plan to charge at that last year for the first time, which obviously none of the schools we spoke to were particularly worried about talking to us about cybersecurity last year when they had so much other stuff to deal with. So we're just desperately kind of hoping that we can get back at that at some point this year.
Yeah, it's such a shame. I feel that there was a bit of momentum. We were building some real momentum, and then COVID came along. And but it's surprising. It's amazing how much we've been able to move onto virtual. This year's competition, girls' competitions, have all been virtual. It's not quite the same, but it's still amazing that we've had the amount of participation. Julian, I'll just come back to you because I think I might have cut you off. You were about to make a point before I moved on to Laura. Did you want to make your point before I wrap up?
Thank you, Chris. I was just going to say, we also hosted one of the regional Cyber Girls competitions at our software development labs at Hursley near Winchester for the same reason. I mean, we've been running Cyber Girls training for schools in the Hampshire area for a couple of years, but really saw the competition hosting as a really amazing way of promoting that and making that much more visible. And so that's one of the things that we're very keen to continue is to support those schools in Hampshire who want to participate in the competition and hopefully host another regional semi-final at Hursley again when we all come back to some form of normality, hopefully by February next year.
Wouldn't that be lovely? And again, yes, thank you for that. So I think that brings us to the end of this Cyber UK panel. I'd like you all to give the panelists a virtual round of applause, and I personally like to thank them for finding the time to come along today to share their CyberFirst experiences, and also thank them for the commitment and the enthusiasm that they've shown for the programme. And as I said, you know, we've got over 900 students on the bursary scheme. We run courses during the summer, well, all through the year. The girls' competition, you've heard, you know, how many of them have supported the semi-final. Just couldn't do it without it. It has to be a partnership to deliver this, and that's why we see, you know, the regional looking at this at a regional level is really about bringing that partnership together, but on a much more local level, and it's so important that we do that. And if there's any organisations out there that have not yet become a CyberFirst partner, then please do go to the NCSC website. Hopefully you've heard all the good things that these companies have got from it and have been involved in it. It's a really great programme. I thoroughly enjoy being involved in it, and you know, it goes from strength to strength. But it's what we have to do to deliver that next generation of cybersecurity talent. Thank you for watching. It's Chris Ensor signing off.